This video is all about how to format a professional business letter. So I'm actually going to open up a Word document and walk you through some of the steps on how to get everything set up correctly. So give me one moment while I get open a blank document. So one of the first tricks that I'm going to recommend is to never use preset templates for business letters. Some of them are okay, but many of them actually have errors or make the letter look a little bit unprofessional. So it's always going to be better if you just do the formatting yourself. You'll have a lot more control over what it looks like. And then you can adjust things as needed versus being set and stuck in a preset template that, like I said, most of them just don't work well. You'll notice that the first thing that I just did here, I adjusted my font. So before I ever started typing, there's a few things I'm going to adjust. So I changed the font to Times New Roman. I also set it at 12 point. You really want to use a standard type of font and a standard size, which Times New Roman 12 point accomplishes both of those things. Then the other things that I want to check, I want to make sure that my margins are set up 1 inch all the way around. They are. I'm going to go back to my home position, and now I'm going to check my spacing. I want to make sure that I'm doing single spacing, which is 1. And then down here, I want to click that remove space after paragraph because I don't want Word to add in any extra spacing for me. I want to have complete control over where the spacing is in my letter. So then I'm ready to start typing. First thing that I want to do, it's my sender's address, so I'm going to pretend I'm the sender today. And we'll just make up address. Then I'm going to double space it, and then I need to add my date. So I'm going to go ahead and put my date next. Notice that I did write out October. It typically looks more professional when you do that. Again, versus having the 10-1-. You really want it to look a little bit more clean, and writing it out does that. Once I have my date, then I'm going to double space again. So you'll see each section has its own sort of space. It's not all blended together in one, and it's also not overspaced, meaning that it's not double or triple spaced either. Then I need to add in the sender's information. So maybe I am sending this letter to MTM Industries. And again, I'm just making this up to demonstrate. 457. Now, so far, a couple things I wanted to point out. So I have the margins correct, my spacing is all correct so far, I got a good font size. Also pay extra close attention to capitalization and correct punctuation in both the addresses as well as the date. It's really easy to make little errors there, but they stand out. It's kind of like a big red flashing sign if those are not set up correctly. So again, be really extra cautious. Make sure that if you abbreviate something like street, there's a period there to show that it was abbreviated. Things like street names, city names have to be capitalized. The 2 letters of the state get capitalized. So again, just really paying attention to those details. And then I want to get to the point where I give my greeting. You do want to have a greeting in a professional letter. I'm just going to make it out to Dear Jane Doe, and then I put a colon. So one really common error is to put a comma right there, but in a professional letter, you actually use a colon. In a more informal letter, a comma is perfectly acceptable. In this greeting, a couple of things to keep in mind. Avoid using gendered titles such as Mrs., Ms., Mr., unless you absolutely know for certain that is what that person prefers on the other end. If you have a professional title, such as professor, manager, whatever it is, then include that along with the name. But again, try and stay towards professional titles. Avoid any sort of additions that designate gender. Once I have this, I'm ready to start my first paragraph. And you'll notice that I did not indent. You do not actually indent paragraphs when you're doing a cover letter. In fact, most business level writing does not use indents on paragraphs. Instead, you'll skip a space between the paragraphs to show that that's where they start and stop. This is very different from much college writing where you would be required to indent paragraphs for formats such as MLA. Again, paragraphs do not get indented. You should have a double space in between each one to show that that's where it starts and stops. You'll use as many paragraphs as you have or as you need per points. So it shouldn't be, one introductory paragraph, one body paragraph, and one conclusion, or one introductory paragraph, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. You should have a beginning paragraph and an ending paragraph, but use as many body paragraphs as you need. And you should decide that based on your main points. Each specific main point should have its own body paragraph. And then when it gets to the done, so we are done writing it, you're like, got all my paragraphs, have all my content, that's great. Then make sure that you do include a sign off. And you typically will leave 4 spaces between the sign off and your name. And the reason for that is that really what you would do then is print this out, include your real signature, and then even if you're submitting it online, you would scan it back in so that you have a digital signature on there as well as just the typed out traditional name. So this is just the formatting of a business letter. Of course, the content is going to change depending on the situation, but this is the basic setup to make sure that you are creating something that looks clean and professional and can really just put forth your best image. Any questions, of course, always let me know. I hope this was helpful and have a great day. Oops.